Good job. Hello, viewers. Well, it's James Kalm, and we're out here on Woodward Avenue, and we're going to run into Valentine Gallery. And we're going to take a little walk through an exhibition by Don Doe. This gentleman, does the show have a title, Don?
Yes, it does.
What's the title?
Turn left. At the Blue Fairy Dovetail Joint.
Turn left at the Blue Dovetail Joint, is that okay?
Blue Fairy Dovetail Joint.
All right. Well, that's a very literate title. Anyway,
it was kind of a riff off of Picasso in a way. Like,
okay.
You know, I was enjoying his poetry, and I came up with some phrases, and Fred kind of rearranged my phrases, and we came up with a title together.
All right. So Fred is partially guilty in this. Anyway, we're going to kind of come in here and sweep over the exhibition here so people have an idea of the installation. Well, one of the things I wanted to talk about was the fact that not only are you an accomplished painter, but you also do a lot of very nice and accomplished sculpture as well. You want to talk maybe a little bit about how you kind of work the painting versus sculpture, or the sculpture versus painting?
Well, I was doing these paintings about this size a couple of years ago, and I wasn't really happy with them in some way, like spatially. So,
do we have a title for this one?
I think it's called The Actress.
All right, The Actress.
And then I decided, I've always admired how Degas would do his sculptures and then paint from them or draw from them.
Some of the ballet dancers and things.
Yeah, and
okay.
The horses. And Daumier would do caricatures of politicians for his newspaper illustrations. And so I thought, well, I'll just build a piece and that will help me with the paintings. But once I realized I started building them, and they became something all their own, and I just totally got into just making sculptures.
And this is what you said, sculpting? Is that what that is?
Yes, it took me a while to figure out what would I build these with. First I tried air dry clay, but they required a certain pyramid type shape because they shrink. And I thought, what doesn't shrink? And I did some research. I came across polymer clays, which is sculpey, doesn't shrink. And I could put armatures inside and make these arms come out, which you can't do with air dry clay. So I built the armature out of wire and then with aluminum foil, and just apply the sculpey on top, and they just have to, the only requirement is they have to fit inside my oven.
Right, you were saying that you actually bake them at 240 degrees or something like that. Yes. For a couple of minutes?
240 degrees for like 20 minutes, and then 170 degrees for 40 minutes.
But this one here is actually cast bronze, is that correct?
Yes, I had a mold made of the sculpey, and we cast it in wax, and then that was cast into bronze up in Maine.
Now you were saying that you use the sculptures as studies for the paintings?
Yes.
And you said, I guess, this sculpture was a study for this painting. Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Those are the only two that correlate here in the show.
Now, I also noticed that a lot of this work is very figurative. Have you done a lot of classic studies and, worked with anatomy and all that stuff, or is this things that you just picked up yourself?
I've been drawing from the model since I was in high school.
Do we have a title on this piece?
It's called Bouquet, Secret Bouquet.
Bouquet. And this is oil on canvas? Is that what that is? Okay. The other thing I thought was interesting was you were talking about Picabia, and the fact that Picabia is kind of an influence or an inspiration for you. You want to maybe
I like
talk
the
about
way
Picabia?
He's probably classically trained like me, but yet he's able to just like try to bring popular culture into the mix, and he's not afraid to clash different spatial elements and illustration ideas with each other to the point where they almost don't even make sense, and so then you have to kind of piece together some fantasy of your own or narrative.
Have you seen the Picabia show that's up to Modern now?
Not yet. It's on my list.
Okay, yeah, it's
I've
great.
been dealing with this show.
I was up there yesterday, and it's definitely worth dropping in and seeing.
Yeah.
How about the title for this piece?
Oh goodness. I forgot the title.
Well, if you if you don't know, that's okay. But this piece is probably what, about 48 by 36 inches, something like that?
Yes.
Oil on canvas. You're kind of talking about contrasting maybe classical and historical or art historical subjects against pop culture. And in certain ways, that's kind of what you're doing here is it's kind of this upper figure looks like something that could be out of a Watteau or something. And then it's kind of playing off of something looks like 1950s soft porn.
Absolutely, yes.
Softcore porn or something. You know what we're going to do? Also, I thought that you had some nice sketches here. We'll just kind of flip through this. And you said you've been studying from the figure, drawing from the figure for years. But what I like is that you're working, all of these are pen and ink, right? Or do you use watercolor on these, or?
It's pen and ink with a lot of water. Like I wet the paper down first, so that when I draw with it with the pen, it starts to run and bleed.
Right, to bleed. I was saying that you do great things with the bleeds.
And become a problem that you have to figure out. Like as you're working, you have to work against something. I like to have something of a challenge.
Yeah, this makes me
I don't
think
know
of a
if challenge
table.
is the right word, but
You got to work against it. It's too easy to
yeah,
do something that you're
like-
working with it. So
it's more like life.
the struggle, the fight. Anyway, I thought that the sketch pad was nice. And we've got some more pieces back here. Now this is the only, I guess, what I would call polychrome sculpture in the show. You've got some other ones that are kind of one color. What are your thoughts about polychrome sculpture?
I've been experimenting. This is the piece that fit the show. I've got others that are more day glow paint, and they kind of clashed with the paintings. We're kind of heading in a completely different direction.
And
So we didn't put those in the show.
These are studies for a couple of the larger pieces.
Yes.
And those are 10 by 12, 12 by 10, something like that. Okay, Don. Well, thanks for giving us a little peripatetic tour of the show. I'm going to ask you, it's James Kalm, please. I'm going to ask you again, what is the title of the show again? Let's see if you can. Turn left at
Blue Fairy Dovetail Joint.
the Blue Fairy Dovetail Joint.
Turn left at the Blue Fairy Dovetail Joint.
All right, thank you, Fred. And as we always say at the end of these,
Thanks, Ed.
thank you, Kate. We're going into the NICELLE Beauchene Gallery. And look at an exhibition by Vanessa Maltese titled Company. Well, I looked through from the street and I thought this looked kind of sparse and conceptual. And then I came in and took a little closer look at this and realized that what appears to be just a grouping of shoes. I'm sure everybody has the the clean freaks that don't let you wear your shoes into their house. And as I look closer, I realize that these are actually all sculptures. And then I was wondering whether they were cast in rubber or something, and I picked up the gallery guide, and it says that these are cast aluminum and some of them are cast bronze. And some of them have socks that they've added. Well, they've got a little statement they've got here in the press release. Through Company, Maltese improvises and mimics the experience of entering into a domestic space for social gatherings through an installation of hand-painted aluminum and bronze cast shoes that are scattered around the gallery floor, accompanied by an elongated floor mat, offering an elusive and spatial context to the presentation. The exhibition gestures towards a grander history framed around the philosophical ramblings behind Vincent van Gogh's A Pair of Shoes. Considering Martin Heidegger's essay citing the Vincent van Gogh painting from 1935, The Origin of the Work of Art, which pushes to open up viewer experience through phenomenological description, Maltese bestows the viewer with a similar responsibility to consider the variety of questions surrounding the shoes and the placement thereof. Well, that's all very, very interesting. I would say that a lot of people don't like Martin Heidegger because of his association with the National Socialists, but I think that his essay, The Origin of a Work of Art, is maybe one of the most profound, delving into the whole question of what is art, how does art distinguish itself from, as Ed Reinhardt would say, everything else. And so, in that way, you've got a very kind of extravagant gesture of making and casting these shoes. But I have to wonder how deeply you could be involved with the whole philosophical and metaphysical questions that Heidegger was digging into. But it's fun to think about. So this has been Vanessa Maltese Company here at NICELLE Beauchene Gallery. 327 Broome Street. I think we'll end up our little round-robin tour of the Lower East Side here in Canada. 33 Broome Street. We're going to run through a show by Anke Weyer, W-E-Y-E-R, titled Frightful Falls. And the press release says that these paintings were created over the course of a long summer in a converted barn several hours outside of New York City. These are mixed media, so they're oil and acrylic. This one is titled All Day IPA. Urlaub, which I think means to take a pause or a break. And hay for horses. I initially stuck my head in here and took a quick view of the show, and of course, I kind of got the idea that Anka is operating in the realm of de Kooning circa 1956, like Passage to the River and Gothic News time. It's titled Brush Off, 2006, 84 by 68 inches. Well, I've covered at least one other show by Anka here at Canada. And Anka is a German lady that has been working here in New York for, I don't know, 15 years, something like that. And kind of having a show with Canada every 2 or 3 years, 3 or 4 years. And it seems that she's starting to get some traction now. It's titled Jubilar. I actually kind of like the dots of the drips. Dragonfly. '84 by 64, so that's 7 by 5.5 feet approximately. Also, it would be interesting to note and see where the acrylic starts and the oil begins, or the oil ends and the acrylic starts. And some of this looks like she might paint on unstretched canvas, maybe laying it on the floor and pouring and splashing things in, and then at some point stretching them up and maybe continuing to do some work. There's a lot of very kind of natural chemical reactions that are causing some of this interesting surface incident. This is titled Deja Blue, as opposed to Deja Vu. 78 by 57 inches. Yeah, I was running through the Lower East Side maybe 2 weeks ago and dropped into a show that was by an artist from New Mexico who was maybe showing for the first time in New York in 30 years. The guy was, I mean, in his late 80s, early 90s, and the paintings were all from the 1960s. And strangely enough, they kind of make me think of some of these chunky passages of brushy paint. This is titled Out of Green. That's some interesting drizzle. I think Anka does have a nice kind of open gestural moves with her brush, some of her brush strokes. And we're gonna wrap up our little Lower East Side tour looking at this piece. Leave early, 2016, 76 by 60. Anke Weyer, Frightful Falls, here at Canada, 33 Broome Street, on the Lower East Side. Thank you, Kate. Wow. Thank you. That was great.
Thank you.
What's your name?
Chanel
Janelle?
Jenkins. Chanel Jenkins.
Chanel Jenkins?
Yes, perfect.
How about the bass player?
My name is R.A. Goldstein.
Ari Goldstein. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you very much.